It's Tuesday, 28th of October 25. Here's my agenda for tonight for my tea time talk. I might add stuff to it. Tonight I'm having Asda crispy French fries. I don't think I'll buy them again. They're alright, but just a free bit of ASMR for you. Where would we be without ASMR? How did we cope without it? I'm just going to take the whole lot. It's a bit too much, but I'll just randomly squirt this on it. Don't know if it does any good at all. Okay, yeah, it was already set this. I'm going to leave it at that. No, actually, I'll put it down. Not way. Alright. It's weird because this is only 2 years old, but it already feels out of date because of the way air fryers have evolved over the last couple of years, Anyway, on to this, and Hurricane Melissa is going through Jamaica at the moment, and it's meant to be one of the biggest hurricanes ever, or they thought it was going to be. I think they've downgraded it a bit now to, it was a 5 when it came into Jamaica, I think now it's 4, but it's still the biggest of the year. I was checking Google Gemini, the AI search, or AI mode in Google, and it was saying that it started in West Africa, and then it sort of came across, but because the Caribbean waters, it said, are abnormally high. I don't know why. No, I do know why, because it said thought to be because of climate change. I mean, I don't know whether it is or not, but I think the thing about climate change and all that is when a politician's trying to say to people, you've got to change all this because of climate change, etc. I don't think that's going to affect them. Mentally. It's not going to make them change towards it. I think they should promote it as you're going to be pollution free, it's going to be win-win, it's going to be cheaper, because people don't know that at the moment wind power and green power is cheaper than gas and I don't know about nuclear, possibly, but it's cheaper. But because of the way the British system, whatever is going into the mix of the energy supply, whichever is the dearest, that's what they set the price at that moment. And usually there's maybe 5-10% gas, or sometimes there's a lot more, but maybe a lot of the times maybe 5-10%. But gas is the dearest, and then you've got to set the price for the whole lot because of that, including all the wind power, which is cheaper, and solar power. I think all of us should be trying for solar on your roof, plus a battery to store the energy, like a Tesla Powerwall, and join a virtual power plant tariff. I think Octopus Energy might do one. Some others do one, says Electricity probably do one. Elon Musk has applied for one, and a virtual power plant does away with the power plant altogether. Because as much as I'm grateful for wind turbines and that, and I'm glad of them, and I'm glad that they give us the energy and that, I don't like them being out in the countryside, because you've got all the workers and all that sort of stuff floating about, and you're probably CCTV on you all the time as well, so wind power, I'm really grateful for it. I prefer it to, say, all the other non-green types, especially the smoky ones, I know there's nuclear as well, but long term you get a problem there. So I don't know, but there was a report this week. This Dale Vince says, I always sort of read what he's up to on X and that, and he was saying, there is a report this week saying that the oil and gas companies say Reform are making a mistake with their policies on being anti-green, basically, which I think is correct. And then that's the oil and gas industry are telling them, I think. And then there was another report saying that green energy is the cheapest. But I think personally we should all be going for self-reliant solar on the roof, a Tesla Powerwall, or a battery in the hangway, join a virtual power plant tariff, and you can even, for that tariff, you can even have an electric car, obviously, and you can even put that onto your virtual power plant if you want, if you've got excess energy there. I think that is the future, and I don't know why the hard right, if you want to call them, and tinfoil, these tinfoil um, Republican types that feel you need to be self-sufficient because the state are after you or something like that, that type. Why aren't they all ultra greens? They probably are in practice, but not, they don't preach about it, you know what I mean? So, yeah, I'll just take a look at that. I'm amazed at the fanfare in these things, it really blows down. Okay, so I'm talking about Hurricane Jamaica. Yeah, it's come in, and they're saying that the Caribbean Sea is maybe heated up. That's what Google Gemini said in the thing, possibly because of climate change. And like I say, you should sell the thing to, the politicians should sell it to the public. In fact, Trump even said it. Sometimes he says he wants clean, clear fuel, I mean, I don't regard him as a green supporter, but he's putting it the right way when he says that, although he's sort of doing anti-stuff against it. Yeah, no, that's the way you should be, but you should also be in favour of it as well, because it's common sense, the right thing. I mean, at some point, it's where all the entrepreneurs should be, and all the Thatcherites, they should all be thinking. I mean, Richard Tice has got an electric car, He probably doesn't mention that too much, I don't know, but yeah. So it's going through Jamaica, this hurricane, and it's come down a bit, but it's come back out to sea and it's gone through Cuba. It doesn't look like it's going to America. It's going back out to the Atlantic, but you might have problems in the northeast of America, I suppose. You can remember I had that a few years ago, 10 years ago, in the Who done a charity concert and stuff like that. Yeah, it went away up to New York, didn't it? Not the hurricane itself, I don't think, but there was enough force, you know what I'm talking about. Anyway, that's all about Hurricane Melissa. Back to politics now, number 2, and apparently the Greens in the UK are at 16% in a YouGov poll, and that's the highest they've ever been in a YouGov poll, and Labour are 17%, which is the lowest they've ever been in a YouGov poll, and that's ironic because Keir Starmer was always saying 2019 was a low point when he was the shadow Brexit minister, and it seems that the Red Wall voted Tory because of Labour's Brexit policy mainly. So the Greens, I mean, personally I think Zach Polanski is a fantastic politician, and he's only been around, I've only known him for like 2 months or something. Fantastic, but I can vote for them or the left because of one reason. I'm only voting one reason now, and for that reason I'm voting Reform as a Overton window shift, because they're not very good on it either, but it's as good as you can get. So in Reform are top around about 27%, but they seem to have stalled a bit, I don't know why. They're still way ahead. I mean, one poll's got them on 35%. I think it's Find Out More, who always have them higher, but I think they're probably right, Find Out More, but yeah. So it's interesting times. Reform 27% or something, Labour 17%, Greens 16%, Lib Dems 15% I think, or 16. Yeah, it's really interesting, and it looks to me as if it might be Greens versus Reform, but then you've got Jeremy Corbyn's Your Party coming up, and they're probably going to take a big chunk out of Labour as well, which I'm grateful for. I think Labour should just collapse, because they don't really represent anybody. Like I say, last year in the election, they get the lowest victory margin, lowest vote percent, I think, since the war or something, as a winner. They get about 34% of the vote, only 59% voted, which is the lowest since the war, I think, again. Yeah, and they get 2/3 of the MPs from that, so I totally think we need proportional representation. First past the post is totally done, and this poll seems to be showing that, because it's like a 4-horse race, really. Yeah, so that's interesting. Okay. Alright, I'm just checking there. No, it's still got a bit to go. Okay, I'm going very low temp. Usually does them too high and burns them. Okay, the next thing. Personally, I feel that in Scotland's going to go reform as well. And people have said, no, no way. Even in April, people have said, nah, they have no chance. I think they get 8% of the general election last year in Scotland, I think. But there was a poll in Survation, and I think they were around about 22% or something. It's hard to say in Scotland because for Holyrood it was the poll, and we get 2 votes for that. We get one first past the post, and the second one a regional one where we can list them one by one in terms of favouritism, and that's your regional vote. But what I took out from it is that Reform are around about 22%, SNP are at 29%. I mean, there was another one where SNP were 35 and Reform was 16. So I don't know, but really I think people are underestimating Reform Scotland. I think they'll become the biggest party in Scotland as well, as they will in Wales. All the former Labour areas, I'd say, are going to go that way, and of course they're getting the Tories as well. Personally, I see it as a protest vote, a referendum vote really, and I know that Reform were in favour of proportional representation, but I do worry now that they're probably against it, because now it's poacher turned gamekeeper, now it's them that's going to win a take, so, it's them that's going to have 66% of the MPs with 33% of the vote, so, I mean, all these parties, I mean, it wasn't that long ago, even during the general election last year, Labour were tipped to get about 40%, and Labour and Tories used to get, well, one of them used to get maybe 45%. But that all seems to be over at the moment. It's all spread everywhere. So if Keir Starmer was really wanted to be a well-known politician or admired, well, it's impossible now. He's the only Prime Minister I can think of that I dislike. I find him a hypocrite, and to even his own side, his own team. I don't think anyone probably likes him, not even his own speechwriters. But yeah, because if he wanted to go down in history as he done a big thing for Britain, it would be to either to change the system to the proportional representation, which they've just done in Wales for some reason for the Senate. I don't know why, because that was a Labour dominant. Maybe Labour felt, okay, we're going to lose it, so let's go PR. Maybe that's what Keir Starmer will do as well, because Labour at the moment are third in Wales. It's between Reform and Plaid Cymru. I don't know why people are voting Plaid Cymru, they're meant to be the nationalist side, but yeah. So if he really wanted to go down in history, though, he could say, either they could have a referendum on proportional representation, but just to ask the question, do you want to change the electoral system to proportional representation? Because David Cameron done a referendum in 2011, but to get the Lib Dems in to back his government, but that one they actually had a precise form of proportional representation, which is probably the worst type. In 2017, Theresa May would have trounced Labour, rather than falling short. So that wasn't a good system at all. Yeah. So yeah. Keir could ask the question: do you want proportional representation? Yes or no? That's it. Because David Cameron believed in referendums, which I did, but he only believed in them if he thought he was going to win them easily, and he won one easily. The Scottish one, he knew it was pretty close, and then the third one he lost, of course, so he totally gambled wrong, didn't he? But I think we should have referendums all the time, like in Switzerland. So this would be a good one. Do you want proportional representation? But or you could just change it, because that's what they can do at the moment. They're dictators, so they could just that's a dictatorship thing, or first past the post system. He could just say, I'm changing the system to PR, because he's done that thing about digital ID, but he could have said, let's have a referendum in digital ID. Do you want digital ID? And then if he lost it, he could say, well, I had a referendum, I wanted it, but the public doesn't support it, so we're not having it. But I think what he's actually trying to do is he's trying to put it ahead. And that may be what eventually sinks him, actually, because in Wales they talk about the 20 mile an hour thing that the Welsh Labour wanted to do, which personally I think is madness, because driving at 20 miles an hour is very, very difficult. And if you ever do it in a 20 mile an hour zone, you'll have all the locals behind you, getting agitated because they want to get past you, So I don't want to burn the chips, that's why I'm doing them so low. I'm going to try 2 sauces on them. It's alright, but I'm not buying that again. This is Asda's classic, sweet and tangy. Okay. So, Keir Starmer, in Switzerland they have quarterly referendums, every 3 months, and also they have petition referendums and other types. I can't remember. I think that's the way it should be. I mean, we call it direct democracy. We've got to get as close to that as possible. As far as I know, Zach Polanski hasn't mentioned that yet, so I don't think he's well, maybe, I'm guessing he does know about it, but it's not something. He wants proportional representation, and I've always thought that way, because everyone's vote should count. It doesn't matter if you end up with a mixed up government. Everyone's vote should count. I mean, we just saw in Caerphilly this week, it was a Welsh Senate by-election because one of the people died, and it was in Caerphilly, which is a former coal mine town, so just up from Wales, just north of Wales, I think, Cardiff, I mean, and it was really a Red Wall Labour area, but it's expected to go to Reform, I think. But they had the by-election last week. Reform weren't expected to win. Nigel Farage was in the town because he thought, once to do the count, then he can be celebratory and that. But Plaid Cymru won it. But Nigel Farage says Reform were hoping for 12,000 votes, and they got that. But it turned out that a lot more turned out and used Plaid Cymru as an anti-vote, probably an anti-Reform vote. And that's going to happen. That happens in the West really at the moment. Like Poland, I think they've done that, and quite France, I think, for their presidential election last year as well. So I think that's sort of what's going to happen. Anyway, I mean, more than 50% turned out in Caerphilly, which was more than turned out at the General Senate election in 2021. Because they only get to vote every 5 years, same as in Scotland. In Scotland we could vote every 4 years, but SNP changed it to every 5. Probably all the other parties agreed with them. So you get to vote as a member of the public, you get to vote every 5 years for a party hamper. Okay, and I'm using these for the washing machine because they're very light, easy to store and things, it's very interesting, I think. Don't you think? It's just... Is it the future, or is it just another aspect? And you can even rip them in half. They've got a sort of tear in the middle, if you don't want to use a full one, but, Yeah, Hurricane Melissa, I don't really know much about it because I don't really follow mainstream corporate legacy media anymore, so, they're probably doing a big thing about it. I thought the Daily Mail might mention it. I read that online, although I don't even look at the Daily Mail that often anymore, but I couldn't really see it in the Daily Mail either, In the old days, hurricanes around about that area were quite a big story, Doesn't seem to be the case now, maybe I'm wrong. I think we all remember the one 20 years ago, which hit Memphis and that, didn't it? Because we all remember that those people were staying at the football stadium, American football stadium, and there was big piles of excrement that were up in the toilets like cones. So we heard. I didn't see a picture of it. Yeah, the Memphis, was it Memphis? The levees broke, didn't they? Yeah. And a positive thought to finish off with, it's my relaxation method, or mental health method. Turtle, does that say turtle? I meant to say tortoise. Tortoise, relax. And that's where you go slow motion. Here I'm doing it here now. Try and go for 0.2 video speed. And then we go slow motion. Just to give yourself time to think and all that. Yeah, slow motion. Bring your voice down an octave. That sort of stuff. Go slow mo. Always have 2 flavours of sauces in the house so you can vary it. Oh, okay. There you go. Really? I should wait till these have cooled down, but I don't know. That sort of thing. What? Alright guys, that's it. I must admit, not much thought went into it. It was a bit of a filler video. Just to one. Yeah. I'll do this tortoise method now. This is the way. Is to let your brain have a thought. Experience the moment. There you go. Alright guys, that's it. Another fantastic video in the bag. Okay, cheerio.